From humble beginnings, Dante Bow's journey was marked by poverty. He ascended to the pinnacle of artistic acclaim, earning the admiration of millions. Yet, amidst his rise to success, he lost touch with his humble beginnings, only to later face a sudden and humbling downfall with the Christians community. Dante Bow's story begins in the early 1990s, in a town where opportunity seemed as scarce as rain in a desert. Born into a family grappling with financial hardship, young Dante learned early on that life rarely hands out easy breaks. His parents, doing their best to make ends meet, couldn't shield him from the harsh realities of poverty. Bow's grandparents were Christian ministers. When Dante was a kid, he felt really comforted at church. That's where he first felt the magic of music deep inside him. The choir's harmonies made him feel like all his worries were lifted off his shoulders, even if just for a little while. Sitting among the wooden benches and colourful windows, something sparked in him, a strong love for music that would stay with him forever. But life had other plans before Dante could pursue his calling. By his teenage years, the family's struggles had intensified. Eviction notices became a common sight, and the Bow family found themselves bouncing from one temporary shelter to another. At just 16, Dante experienced the cruel bite of homelessness, sleeping in cars and on friends' couches, his dreams seeming more distant with each passing day. During his toughest times, Dante showed incredible strength. Even though everything around him was chaotic, he held on to his faith and his passion for music like they were his only hope. He did all sorts of jobs, like cooking burgers and cutting grass, while still finding time to practice singing whenever he could. It was exactly at this time he heard a singer named Kiera Sheard, and her music touched his heart in a special way. One of her albums, called Free, made him feel so inspired that he decided to change his whole life. Dante felt so strongly about his newfound faith that he made a big decision. Instead of finishing high school like most kids, he chose to focus all his time and energy on serving God. He got a job as a worship leader, which means he would sing and lead others in praising God. It gave Dante some stability and hope in a world that hadn't given him much of either before. Music wasn't just a hobby, it was a lifeline. He poured his frustrations, his yearning for a better life, into every note. Local talent shows became his battlegrounds, victories offering a fleeting taste of glory before reality settled back in. Rejections stung, but they couldn't extinguish the fire in his soul. The turning point came in the form of a flyer. Maverick City Music, a rising gospel collective, was searching for vocalists. Dante, with a heart full of hope and a voice raw with emotion, auditioned. The room held its breath as he sang, his voice a potent blend of gospel fervor and soulful grit. In that moment, the trajectory of his life changed. Maverick City became his family. Together, they took the gospel world by storm. Their music, a perfect marriage of soulful melodies and heartfelt lyrics, resonated with a new generation. Awards followed, including a prestigious Grammy. Dante, the once overlooked boy from Hampton, was now a star, his voice filling arenas across the globe. But with success came temptation. The bright spotlight can be overwhelming, and young Dante made mistakes. In late 2022, controversy struck. A video surfaced online showing Dante at a party, engaging in behavior that some deemed inappropriate for a gospel artist. The backlash was swift and severe. Social media exploded with opinions, his character was questioned, and even some of his closest allies in the industry distanced themselves. Dante found himself at the center of a storm, facing criticism from all sides. The very platforms that had once praised him now seemed eager to tear him down. In a heartbreaking turn of events, he was asked to step away from Maverick City Music, the collective that had been instrumental in his rise to fame. For Dante, it was a crushing blow. The homeless boy who had fought so hard to make something of himself now faced the possibility of losing it all. As the controversy raged on, he retreated from the public eye, grappling with feelings of shame, confusion, and fear for his future. The months that followed were some of the darkest of Dante's life. Away from the spotlight, he was forced to confront not only the consequences of his actions, but also the deeper issues that had led him to that point. The pressure of maintaining a perfect image, the exhaustion from constant touring, and the unresolved traumas of his past had all taken their toll. During this time, Dante leaned heavily on his faith and the support of his closest friends and family. He sought counseling, reconnected with his roots, and spent long hours in prayer and reflection. It was a period of intense soul-searching, as he struggled to reconcile the public persona he had built with the flawed human individual he knew himself to be. The journey back was not an easy one. Some doors that had once been open to him now remained firmly shut. Former collaborators were hesitant to work with him, and some radio stations pulled his music from their playlists. Dante faced the very real possibility that his career in gospel music might be over. But even in these moments of doubt, a small flame of hope continued to burn within him. The same resilience that had carried him from homelessness to the top of the charts now fueled his determination to make things right. As the dust began to settle, Dante made the decision to address his struggles publicly. In a heartfelt video shared across social media platforms, he offered a sincere apology for his actions and spoke candidly about the pressures he had faced and the lessons he had learned. To many, this display of vulnerability and honesty was a refreshing change from the typical celebrity apology playbook. Slowly but surely, supporters began to rally around him. Messages of encouragement poured in from fans who shared their own stories of struggle and redemption. Inspired by this outpouring of support and driven by a renewed sense of purpose, Dante returned to the studio. The music that emerged from this period of reflection was unlike anything he had created before. Raw, honest, and deeply introspective, these new songs spoke to the universal human experiences of failure, forgiveness, and the arduous journey of personal growth. Just when you thought he was getting his life back on track, controversy came knocking at the door. In 2023, he released a music video that caused a lot of controversy. The video's content appears to have pushed boundaries that some viewers found inappropriate for a Christian artist. Critics argue that certain elements of the video conflict with traditional Christian values and expectations for faith-based musicians. After the music video came out, many fans went on his social media to say they liked the song but felt the video went too far. "You got famous from being a worship minister for the Lord, so why are you moving away from what lifted you now that you got your fame?" one user commented. "I remember you once said you never thought you would get famous from praising the Lord. Where is that guy? You didn't get to the top by doing secular music. Dr. Ian and Lovu prophesied last month that we would begin to see a different side to many worship ministers. I guess this is the beginning of it. I pray the Lord opens your eyes to return to the Lord that lifted you in ministry." Supporters of Bowe, however, defend the artist's creative expression and argue that the video represents a more progressive and inclusive approach to Christian artistry. They suggest that Bowe's work reflects a changing landscape in contemporary Christian music, one that seeks to engage with broader cultural conversations. Musically, Dante continues to push boundaries. His sound has evolved, incorporating elements of his past struggles into a message of hope and redemption. Collaborations with artists from various genres have allowed him to reach new audiences while trying to stay true to his gospel roots.